I wrote about how she stopped saying, "I love you," first. About how Diane slowly started making decisions for us, not with us. How Talia began echoing her mother's words more than her own. I wrote about all the subtle silences, the missed calls, the lukewarm hugs, the way she began to laugh with everyone but me. I wrote until the coffee in my cup turned cold and the sunlight dimmed into streetlight shadows. I wasn't journaling. I was building a record, a roadmap, a blueprint for truth, not just so I wouldn't forget, but so I wouldn't forgive too easily this time. Because now I saw it all for what it really was, a carefully laid path out of our life together. Not a stumble, not a sudden collapse, but a calculated exit disguised as emotional fatigue. And the more I documented, the more I understood. She never wanted to fix what was broken because to her, it had already served its purpose. I closed the notebook, slid it into my bag, and walked out of the cafe with a new kind of resolve. Not bitter, not angry, just ready. Ready to stop showing up for someone who'd already left. Ready to stop protecting someone who treated my love like a utility, useful but unremarkable. And when I got home that night and saw Ruby asleep on the couch with her stuffed elephant and Levi curled up next to her, snoring softly, I knew who I was doing this for. Not for revenge, not even for closure, but for legacy. For the version of me I wanted them to remember. Not the placeholder. Not the man with tired eyes and polite smiles, but the father who showed them what it looked like to stand up, not with fury, but with truth. Because once the window opens and you finally see the storm that's been waiting, you don't shut it again. You brace yourself, and you begin. Once I slipped, said it out loud. Well, Ray's more Talia's type anyway. It was after Levi asked, "Why does Mommy always smile at her phone but never laugh at Daddy's jokes anymore?" Line by line, I had to write it out. I needed to see it on paper to believe it wasn't just paranoia. Because part of me still wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. That's the thing about being soft. We see the best in people, even when they're cutting us down. But then I remembered what she said through that window. I gave him the kids he wanted. Like she handed them over as payment, as if they were poker chips in a game she never wanted to play, like they were mine, not ours. I looked at a picture of Ruby, gap-toothed smile, missing left sock, the mole near her brow. She wasn't just what I wanted. She was half me, half Talia. But now I saw it. Talia didn't feel the same. She gave them to me, and in her mind, that ended her role. That night, I called Jared, an old friend from work. We used to talk about life before it got too heavy. I didn't tell him everything, just enough. She said I was a placeholder, I told him, my voice flat. He paused, then said, "Bro, if you're the placeholder, what was she holding out for?" It was the right question, and suddenly, the answer didn't matter. Whether it was Ray or someone else entirely, the truth was simple. I was never her plan. I was scaffolding. She built her next phase on me, and now she expected me to disappear, quietly. Maybe co-parent from a distance. Maybe write a check here and there. Enough to keep up appearances, but not enough to matter. I pulled out my notebook, drew a line down the center. Left side, what she thinks I'll do. Shrink, stay quiet, accept it. Walk away empty, keep paying. Right side, what I'm actually going to do. Observe, document, prepare, protect the kids, exit with dignity and power. Underneath, I wrote, I am not a stepping stone. I am the foundation. Because here's the thing about being called a stepping stone. They assume you'll stay still while they move forward. But stones shift, foundations crack, and sometimes what you thought was under your control slips away. But not this. Time. This time I'm shifting. And she has no idea. That meant shaking the hand of a man who thought he'd stolen something from me. He hadn't. I wasn't finished. I was just getting started. There are only a few people you call when you're high. Life burns down in silence. Not the friends who know your wife. Not the ones who offer cliches like, just talk to her. You call someone who knew you before the marriage, before the mortgage, before fatherhood diluted your spine. Someone who remembers who you were, before the world told you who to become. For me, that was Milo Trenton. We met in college. He was the kind of guy who could dismantle a professor's entire lecture with a single, well-aimed question and still get invited to dinner. Naturally, he went into law, not courtroom theatrics, but the cold, meticulous field of litigation consulting. I hadn't spoken to him in years, not out of malice, just life, careers, families, time zones. But the night I discovered that Ray's name was tied to a fake business Talia had opened behind my back using our savings, I knew exactly who to call. He answered before the second ring. Marcus Dale. Man, I haven't seen your name on my phone since Barack was president. I wish this was a social call, I said, steadying my voice. You sound like a guy who just got hit by a truck. Window, I corrected, like I got hit by a window. That made him pause. I told him everything. No filters, no softening. From the overheard conversation to the Shell account transfers, to the mortgage scam involving Diane, to the side business with Ray. How they funneled my money like I was some blind investor in my own downfall. Milo listened. When I paused to breathe, he asked one question. Do you want revenge or results? I leaned back. The condo was silent except for the fridge humming in the corner. My kids were asleep down the hall, unaware their mother was draining the life from the man who tucked them in every night. I want to win, I said, but I want to do it right. I want custody, control, and I want them, Talia and Diane, to know that I know, but not with a scream. I want them to drown in it. Milo chuckled. That's more like it. Then, we're not calling lawyers. We're calling shadows. You play this out loud, you lose your advantage. You want to win? Plant a fuse. And just like that, we got to work. Every night, after I put the kids to bed, I'd call Milo. I forwarded screenshots, phone records, email chains. He sent me a recording device, disguised as a key fob. You're not looking for confrontation, he said. You want comfort. Let her talk. Let her dig her own grave. So I did. At the next pickup, I leaned into the doorframe and said, Thanks for packing Ruby's meds. You've been doing a lot lately. Must be overwhelming. You okay? She smirked over her wine glass. Please. It's nothing compared to what Rye handles. You should see his schedule. Click. That was all I needed. Milo traced the fake consulting payments. Found Diane's car linked to the shell company, Birch Communications. She was spending my money on spas, weekend getaways in Maine, a Tesla lease. Luxury off the man they labeled a placeholder. Hold steady, Milo told me. This isn't revenge. This is repositioning. You want custody? Build your arsenal. Still, it wasn't easy. Every day I worried I was becoming cold. Calculated. Was I losing myself while trying to reclaim what was mine? Then one night, Ruby asked me something. We were brushing her teeth. She wore dinosaur pajamas and I was kneeling beside her. Daddy, she said through foam, how come Mommy never hugs you when you come over? I froze. What do you mean? She shrugged. She hugs Grandma. She hugs Rye, but not you, even when you bring flowers. I kissed her forehead. Because some people don't know what they're losing until it's already gone. She blinked, smiled, skipped off. I stayed there, staring at the mirror, feeling something shift, not pain, purpose. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about protection. The next morning, I called Milo. Prepare the files, I said. Bank locks, transcripts, call recordings. I want everything. For court? He asked. Not yet. There's a dinner next week Diane's throwing. It for Talia's promotion. Rye's invited. They all think I'm still the background husband. "And what are you now?" Milo asked. I looked out the window. "I'm the man holding the match." He paused. "Let me help you set the table. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I wasn't serving it. I wanted them to trip over it." Saturday came fast. I wore a charcoal suit. Ruby twirled. In a yellow dress. Levi asked if he looked sharp. They sang along to cartoons in the back seat, unaware it was the last night we'd ever pretend this was normal. We arrived at 7:05. Talia answered the door, dressed in silk. Her smile faltered for half a second when she saw me, just half a second. "You made it," she said. "Didn't think you'd come. Wouldn't miss it." Inside, the house smelled like salmon and wealth. Diane played host like minor royalty. Rye stood by the fireplace, same smug face, same half-buttoned shirt. Talia introduced him as a consultant for her firm. Of course he was. The table was pristine, white plates with gold trim crystal glasses, 10 guests, small talk, wine, toasts, applause. I waited. Then after the main course I stood. "I'd like to say a few words," I said. Talia's smile stiffened. Diane froze. Rye leaned back like he was waiting for a corny toast. I raised my glass. "To Talia, the woman I built a life with, who just last week called me a placeholder." Someone coughed. "To Diane, my dear mother-in-law, who lives in the house I paid for, drives the car I co-signed, and still calls me a stepping stone." A fork clattered. "And Rye, hope the 15 grand helped. Technically, I think I deserve a consulting fee." Talia stood. "Marcus, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. I placed a manila folder at the center of the table. Inside you'll find transfers, mortgage documents, and one very interesting audio file. Enlightening stuff. Rye went pale. Talia whispered, "You recorded me?" "No," I said. "You recorded yourself. I was just on the right side of the truth." I turned to my kids. "Go wait in the car. I'll be right there." They left. I turned back to the table. Diane opened the folder. Rye was gone. Back door, maybe. Who cared? I looked at Talia and Diane. "The house isn't yours anymore. The game's over. Good luck explaining everything to the IRS and the firm." And then I left. One morning, while tying Levi's shoelaces, he looked up and asked, "Dad, do you have to be rich to be happy?" I blinked. "What makes you ask that?" "Mom used to say Ray was rich," he replied, concentrating on his Velcro strap. "She said she was going to live better." I paused, heart tightening, but kept my voice steady. "Money can buy things, but not happiness. Happiness is in here." I tapped his chest gently. "It's about who you are, not what you have." He nodded slowly. "So, are we happy now?" I gave him the most honest answer I could. "We're getting there." Sundays, when Talia came for supervised visits, were awkward at best. The visits took place at a small family center under staff supervision. I waited in the lobby while the kids spent an hour with her in a nearby room. The first time she walked in, she wore oversized sunglasses and spoke little. She hugged the kids tightly and kept glancing at the door like she expected me to storm in and take them away. I didn't. I waited. The kids came back out, quiet but visibly stirred. Ruby clutched a bracelet. Levi had a comic book. I never asked what they talked about. My job now was to protect their peace, not share my pain. Talia sometimes tried to talk to me in the parking lot afterward. "I never wanted it to be like this, Marcus," she said once, standing beside her car, arms folded. "I know," I replied. "But it still is." She looked down, guilt plain on her face. "I miss them." "They miss you too," I said gently. but they need consistency, not confusion. She didn't argue, not anymore. The woman who once rolled her eyes at everything I said couldn't even look me in the eye. Word spread quickly after the fallout. Her promotion was revoked following an internal review. HR had uncovered unauthorized financial ties to Ray's consulting firm. With Milo's documentation, she was quietly removed from every project she'd ever led, suspended indefinitely, pending legal outcomes. Ray? Last I heard, he'd been subpoenaed in a federal investigation. Embezzlement, wire fraud, the works. Milo sent me a screenshot of a news headline. Local consultant under federal investigation. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. That chapter had finally closed. Meanwhile, Diane vanished into silence. The Brookside house went up. For sale, foreclosure notice and all. I scrolled past the listing without emotion. That house meant nothing now. At night, after the kids were asleep, I started reclaiming parts of myself. Reading, journaling, cooking real meals again. I'd take quiet walks by the river, earbuds in, listening to jazz. The water moved with a calm, honest rhythm. No lies, no secrets, just movement. It made sense. One Tuesday evening, Ruby tiptoed into my room, sketchpad in hand. "Can I sleep here tonight?" I scooted over. "Of course." She snuggled in, flipping open her pad. I made a new picture. It was a simple drawing of our townhouse, just her, Levi, and me, all smiling. No mom, no grandma, no shadows. "This is home now?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes, it is." She looked at it again, then whispered, "It feels better." I hugged her close. It does. Later that week, I started therapy. Milo had recommended someone.